Hey everybody, it's Niall here with TestDrive Garage. Now, if you've come over to us after watching the M760 Li video on Test Drive Spotlight, and you aren't usually watching what we do with our DIY stuff, then welcome. You probably noticed that I'm wearing the exact same thing. We're actually filming this immediately after doing the segment on my 2001 740iL in the G12. Now, this video is going to be something a little different. We did do everything wrong with my 2001 BMW 740iL about 2 years ago now, and a lot of people complained about it, but it was actually kind of a video in homage to Tavarish, one of the YouTubers that I watch, who did a video, I believe it was on it was either his S-Class that he bought at the time, but I think he's also done one on the SL55 AMG that he's done. Great YouTuber, great guy. I'd love to meet him. But anyway, I did that video because he did it, and I thought it was interesting to be able to go through all the issues with the car. And a lot of people thought that I was just complaining that everything was broken on an old car. But it wasn't meant to be that. It was meant to show what problems you might expect to find on a 17-year-old BMW 7 Series that has had questionable maintenance history. Now, we're going to be doing the same thing now, except this time I don't have a questionable maintenance history. I've owned the car for 2.5 years, and I have a pretty good idea of everything that's wrong with this car. It's pretty much everything. Everything doesn't work on it. The headliner sagging on the inside. I'm sure you can hear on the audio here, there's squeaking coming from, it's probably the door card or maybe the glove box. The check coolant level light keeps coming on all the time. The suspension feels a little stiff, and it creaks when you're going around in the parking lots. You hear something creaking and crunching. The rear brakes need to be done. The engine's leaking oil, and I think it's coming from either the reservoir where it holds the oil that's supposed to dump it into the engine as soon as you start it up, which is also where the filter is, so that's leaking. It's also got an issue with the timing chain. I think it's the tensioner. I need to get a new tensioner on that. I mean, there's just lots of things that need to be done. I have done one thing though. I did break the little spring on the trunk, and I was driving it. We parked somewhere. I was honestly just playing with the trunk. I wanted to check if there was anything in there, and I put the trunk down and I heard something break. And there's two little springs on the back of the trunk, and what they do is when you unlock the trunk, since it is a self-closing soft close feature, it's supposed to clamp it back down. These springs are powerful enough to push the trunk up enough so that it is clearing the self-closing mechanism. So one of them broke and got rattled up inside. I went to BMW Saint-Julie and picked up a new one. It was about 20 bucks. There's only one in the entire country, so I took it. And that's really the only work, unfortunately, that I've done on this car since our last little update, which was around 2 years of ownership on this car. Then I think we did another one, maybe a little live stream not too long ago when we got it started up. So what we're doing today, we're doing two things. I am taking my car to BMW Sherbrooke, which I know a lot of people are going to say is a stupid idea, and I agree. You probably really shouldn't be taking your 17-year-old BMW to the dealership, especially at a 7 Series, because it is going to be very costly, a hell of a lot more than you would pay if you have a trusted independent shop. And I always think that if you have an independent shop that you can trust, somebody close by who specializes is the operative word, in BMWs of a certain era, you should go to them. But don't just go to any mechanic, because I've been to some that really have no idea what the hell's going on with this car. I've even been to some mechanics who say they know what's going on with this car, and I've known more by searching on the internet for 5 minutes. So be careful with who you take it to. But I'm going to BMW for two reasons. Number one, we bought a battery from them when the car was flat, and I indeed need to get it programmed. It's not super critical, I guess, but I do know that the battery rating that was in the car before is different from what is in here now. I believe it is an 850, and I forget what the rating is. It's not amp hours, not milliamp hours, but it's an 850. And I think what was in there before was a 900. And they say, according to BMW, that this car, this specific VIN, needs an 850. So we're going to go get it programmed, and it's going to cost about 50, 60 bucks probably. I don't know if they're going to charge me more. But when I called to book it, they also upsold me on the 55-point inspection for 60 bucks. And that's pretty much the reason why we're going and we're filming this, because they're going to go over the car, and they're either going to be laughing their asses off because of how poorly maintained this really feels, or they're going to be coming out and telling me we can't let you leave the dealership because it's a safety hazard. But either way, they're going to look over the car, check all the things that I did when I first bought it, because I did the same 55-point inspection at BMW in St. Catharines, Ontario when I got the car. So they're going to go over it, but the real benefit, you get 1 full year of BMW Roadside Assistance. That's basically the cost of the whole service that they're doing. I was using Canadian Tire Roadside before, and I got a 50% deal, which was like 30 bucks on Black Friday. So it would have cost me 60 bucks if I went to Canadian Tire. Here I'm going to BMW, it's also 60 bucks. Now the only thing is when the car breaks down, and it will break down, I will probably have to take it to BMW. But it's fine, because honestly, if this car breaks down when I'm actually using it and it needs to get towed to BMW, it's probably going to be closer and cheaper to take it to BMW than it is to get it back to my house. So we're going to be going and taking a look, and we're going to see what they have to say, and I'm hoping, praying that it's not going to be a lot. Like I said, I know some of the mechanical issues with it, but I am kind of in for a big surprise to see truly everything that's wrong with my 2001 BMW 740i. All right, so we're sitting in the back of the E38 now. I was planning to do this outside, but we have a lot of bugs here, a lot of mosquitoes and things, and I can't get rid of them. So it's been about a week since we took the car into BMW. This is actually the 8th of May, and you're watching this on the 9th or later, because we're publishing it the day after that I'm filming this segment. So it's about a week after our little introduction road test out to BMW Sherbrooke. Now, the car took about 2 hours to get done. It took a little while for it to be completed, and there were two things that I noted about it. First of all, we've got a little list of all the problems with it, but the other thing too is really regarding the battery. We told you at the beginning that it needed to be reprogrammed. Now, I'm not quite sure what they were trying to explain to me. It could have been the language barrier. Maybe the service advisor got information from the tech, and then she was trying to translate it to me, and it didn't quite make sense, because she explained it as the battery doesn't need to be programmed based on the age of this vehicle. Now, I find that hard to believe, because everybody I've talked to says that these cars still need to have the batteries programmed for them. And even the guy who sold me the battery at BMW Sherbrooke said it needed to be programmed. So what I'm thinking is the owner who had this car before me put in a slightly bigger battery. It was a Napa part, so I guarantee you they didn't take it to get it programmed. So I think the original programming was set up for the original battery, and it just happens to be the same. So I think what she meant was it doesn't need to be programmed because it's already set up for that older battery that was replaced well before I bought this car. Now, on to the issues with this vehicle. There are some. Now, first of all, we're going to talk about the issues on the inside and exterior stuff of this car, because those are, again, sort of the issues that we're having that are cosmetic, not things that BMW told us about. I've mentioned the headliner here is sagging. I'm pretty sure we're going to have to pull it down and re-glue it. I mean, if there's a better way to do it, I'd love to know, because it's getting kind of worse as time goes on. Glove box is broken. I don't really care about that. We mentioned the check coolant level comes on. We know what the issue is with that. It's just kind of a pain in the ass to have to do it. And then small little interior things I'm not overly worried about. For the most part, everything else works. Now, the exterior certainly needs some work. Somebody mentioned during the M760Li video that we should do the headlights, and it is true, the headlights are looking a little foggy, and so are the fog lights. They're actually pretty bad. They're actually getting in condensation in them, and they're quite fogged up. They're not very good. So our hope is to replace the lenses of the headlights and also get better fog lights that'll kind of clean it up a little bit on the front there. Also, I noticed that the corner lamp for the indicator on the driver's side is broken. I must have hit a rock and it shattered it, so it's full of glass. It's not broken through, but it is cracked. There's like a spider web crack through it. And even on the passenger side, there's a crack on that as well. So I mean, the front end really should be redone. The bumper was destroyed, as you guys might know, a couple of years ago, so I really should replace that again. The paint job wasn't the greatest. I did that in the garage, so it really might need to be redone. So cosmetic things like that for sure are certainly key. Now, when it comes to the mechanical stuff, I do have the list here. Half of it is in French, half of it is in English. Now, as I mentioned before, I kind of knew what a lot of these issues were, and the little 2-page note here makes sense to me. There's, as I mentioned, nothing that really stands out as big issues that I wasn't aware of. Obviously, these are all issues that need to be attended to. So a gasket front cover, gasket valve cover leaks. It says also the bushing housing filter for oil. So I believe that's what we mentioned. The filter itself is leaking. Now it says 2 wishbones in the back and 1 ball joint in the back, I guess, driver is, it says loose. So I think it means it's loose. It's not quite the word, I don't think. So those probably why, the suspension feels a little weird, especially going around slow corners and stuff. You can hear some creaking, so those should definitely get done. Now it says that the gas tank is leaking, which we know that. We are really hoping to get that sorted out. I forget if I've mentioned, but there is a BMW recycler out here. It's close to Trois-Rivières, and I found them about a year ago. Just after we moved, we went up to Trois-Rivières, and we passed by, and it's not an official BMW building, obviously, but it is, they work on it. So I talked to them about 2 months ago when we filmed the Acura versus Honda video. and I asked them if they had these. They said they had a few E38s in the back, but they were covered in snow, and that I should come back once it's all melted. Now here it's all melted, so theoretically it should be the same out in Trois-Rivières. So we're hoping to maybe go for a drive. We do have the Lincoln Navigator with us this week, so maybe that'll be a good opportunity to go. I'd like to ask them if they could do the work though. I know it's going to cost about $800-900 in labor to lift the car up, remove the entire drive line and everything, to drop the tank, to be able to do it. I just don't have the ability to do it here in our little garage. I don't have a lift, I don't have helpers, right? I don't have the way to do it on my own. So I'm gonna ask them if they could do it. They did say that the tank would be about $200, which I think is a really good deal, assuming it works. Yeah, the other option too, I found on Canadian Tire, you can get a repair kit. It looks like more or less like a piece of tape that you would essentially glue to the parts that are broken, and it's supposed to bond with it and fix it. And I thought that I could maybe do that, but I would need minimum 3 or 4 of them. They're $60 each, so that's pretty much the cost of a replacement one. So yeah, we know that the tank is leaking. Now they also say that the 2 rear tires are fondu, and fondu is melted, which doesn't make sense, but they just put the information for the tires back here. They are garbage tires, so I know I need to replace them. They're the ones that I had originally when I bought the car, and I don't know how long that they are been bad, right? You know, we've been using them for quite a while. Now it also says strap AC, so I don't know if strap is the same thing, but it might need something to do with the AC, and I'm hoping it's not the belt, but it could be. There is a little bit of a whining sound coming from there. Rear brakes, I think they're saying that the rear brakes, which I also knew needed to be done, the rear, I guess on the driver's side is 10 millimeters, and then the ones on the passenger side are 5. It just says A and then U, and then ARR. ARR would be rear, right? Rear right, but the other one, I'm hoping it's the rear, because the front ones I did do myself last year. And then the other one I think also says is pneu as well. 3 out of 32 for something, and then the other one said fini. So I'm imagining that again they've mentioned that the tires need to be done. And then it also says il y a beaucoup d'huile sur le véhicule et il faudrait commencer pour changer le gasket de valve, cover a front cover, shampooing motor. So you know, again, half English, half French. And again, we knew that. We knew that the front of the car is leaking oil. So I mean, it doesn't sound like it's too much work. If I were able to do the gaskets, shampoo the engine, clean it up, do the suspension work in the back, and replace the gas tank. It would be a good idea if I did the gas tank and the rear stuff at the same time, and then replace the tires and the brakes. Yeah, okay, now we're starting to add things up. But theoretically, that should be enough for it to pass the safety. That's the only other things I can think of. So cosmetic stuff can certainly wait, but this small list of things here should be enough, hopefully, to get the car safety, because I am driving it legally right now, but come October, the car is no longer legal on the Ontario plates that it has. So it means I'm going to have to switch over to Quebec. So basically, we've got until October of 2018 in order to get all of this stuff fixed, and then get it certified by a mechanic here in Quebec, and then go and get the plates put onto it. So that's going to be a lot of homework for me to do on top of all this stuff. I think this, as far as the interior stuff goes, this is what pisses me off the most. You can see here it's sagging quite a lot. It's actually really, really bad. And it looks really bad too, because not only is it bad for me as I'm driving, because I can see it and I hate it, but I think it's low enough to the point now where if you're driving behind me, you can see it, and there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than seeing somebody driving around with a car that has a sagging headliner, because it really shows that you don't care about your car, you don't take care of it, and I feel really bad. Now I'm going to wrap up this video really quickly with one little sort of housekeeping thing when it comes to car culture. We had a number of comments on the M760 Li video about the BMW Car Club of America grille badge I have on the front of this car. Now I put it there because I wanted to represent the BMW Car Club. We have them up here in Canada, but they don't have anything quite as sophisticated as that badge. It's just a sticker for the BMW Car Club that I was part of here. I think it's really cool that the Car Club in America has these awesome badges, and multiple different ones for different events that they do, heritage badges, as well as their standard Car Club badge. Now the thing is, it's my car. So I put that badge on there because I like it. And I get kind of upset that people have this big problem about something that I've done to my car. And I think that's becoming an issue in car culture today, where people are so judgmental and so quick to insult other people based on their tastes. I think we all just need to relax. Stop worrying about what other people do to their cars and just let them enjoy it. If somebody puts a huge body kit on their Honda Civic, paints it orange, and puts a massive exhaust on it, they probably like it. So who cares? Stop worrying about what they do. If somebody like me puts a badge on the front of their car, don't get upset about it. It's a badge. It represents a car club. If somebody puts an M badge on their 318i, okay, it's not an M car, but it's their car. They get to do whatever they want with it. So stop getting so upset. So I think we all can work hard to stop being so judgmental and stop turning the car community into a toxic place. We want to be able to invite people into this community, be able to get more young people involved in being enthusiastic about cars, because as we start to age and become sort of the older generation of car enthusiasts, if we've insulted all the people who wanted to get into it when they were younger, there's not going to be anybody else. We're going to be the last generation of people who are excited about cars because we decided to spend our time insulting other people's tastes instead of encouraging it. So just keep that in mind the next time you see something that you don't like. So thanks for watching this episode. We're hoping to be able to do a little bit more with this car now that we have a list of issues to work on. I think we have a bit of a blueprint to be able to work on it. So we're going to start working on that as much as we can. Until next time, take care.